Hey guys, okay, let's try that again. Our first stream went dead. Sorry about that. The kids are watching too much on Netflix. Hopefully this one works. Okay, this is going to be our last session together, you guys. I know, sniff, sniff. After this one, you guys are going to have more than enough tips and tricks to start exploring on your own. So in this one, we're going to sort of put all the pieces together. We've learned about seams, we've learned about zippers and everything, and we're going to run through how I came up with the design for this shopping bag. This is my recycled shopping bag. It's made out of old tents and climbing ropes. But we're going to redesign this so that I can have a couple pockets on it, and then we're going to make it here live with you guys. Okay. Okay, we got everyone back. Awesome. Sorry about that, guys. Little false alarm. Okay, so how I would approach designing something right from a ground zero is function number one. So when I was coming up with the volume for the shopping bag, literally had jugs of milk in front of me, cartons of eggs, and come up with a general size of what you're going to work. So after staring aimlessly at groceries on my cutting table for a while, I came up with 20 centimeters deep, 28 centimeters wide, and 36 centimeters tall was what I thought we needed to make a nice shopping bag. Okay, here's my horrendously bad sketch. 28 centimeters wide, 20 deep, and 36 tall. Okay. And then my next step is to, without any thought for handles or pockets or anything like that, is just to come up with what do I need for the gross general outline or framework of the bag. And yes, I know backpacks are quite complicated, but just another example here. This is the Selkirk pack. And so before I even gave one thought about, I want a pocket here, I want a pocket here, I just made a complete big old bag here for my backpack. And just to see, is the volume right? Is the height right? Is the depth right? All that stuff. And then you have an actual sack of fabric in front of you, and you can start thinking about where you want seams and all that good stuff. Okay, so let's do that for our shopping bag. Let's just figure out how we can make a sack, and then we'll worry about handles and pockets and everything. So, myriad of ways you could construct a bag. How I chose to do it here is we're going to have two rectangles for the, so there's a rectangle for the depth panel, and there's another identical one over here, a rectangle, and then the entire rest of the fabric here is just one continuous big huge long rectangle. Okay, so let's get that sketched out here. Okay, so panel number one. So these are the end or the depth panels we just looked at there. Okay, and we decided we wanted this 20 centimeters deep. So with seam allowances on both sides, this is going to be 23 centimeters across. And we said we wanted our finished bag 36 centimeters high. So I need a seam allowance on the bottom and the top. So this is going to be 39 centimeters tall. And we're going to need 2 of those. Okay, great. And then 2, the main big long rectangle that makes up this whole outside panel. Okay, so we wanted it 28 centimeters wide, we said. So again, seam allowance is either side. So that's going to be 31 centimeters. Okay. Now the length of this is basically going to be, oh, not basically, it's going to be 39 plus 23 plus 39. I know this camera angle isn't the best, gang. Once we're in front of the sewing machine, we'll get you back to the nice, steady one. So, right, it's going to be 39 plus that one plus that one. And I'll let you guys discover this on your own. And for right now, you can just take my word for it. But if you add up 39 and 23 and 39, you get 101. So you might originally think that, okay, well, this has to be 101. But you'll see when we're sewing it here. I'll just explain it when we're sewing it. But this panel is going to be 98 centimeters for those who want to make this at home. And I'll explain it when we're sewing. Basically, when you get to the corners, it's going to take off the seam allowance. You'll see when we're sewing it. Okay, so then I'll cut 2 of those and 1 of those. And again, like we talked about last time, I would make cardboard templates for that. Use an actual carpenter's T-square and make things nice and square. And you can see on here, it took me 5 versions to get what looks like a pretty simple shopping bag right. So don't stress out. Things aren't going to work out on the first time, and that's okay. And then how I cut these things out, everyone's got their own style, but I'm literally just putting my my template on top of the fabric chalk pencil, drawn along the outside and cutting it out. Okay. And then once you have your main generic blob in front of you, as in you've just sewn those 3 panels together, as you're going to see here shortly, you can then start, you have something that you can use in front of you. You can start musing about, how long do you want the handles? If they're too tall, the bag's going to be dragging on the floor. If they're too short, it's going to be crushing the bag and smushing everything inside there. And now you can start thinking about, where pockets might go and what you need to do to accommodate those pockets. So first pocket I think we should do is just a nice open flap on one of the end panels. And that would be for just, you're at the store and you want to just really quickly shove your water bottle in something and you don't want to faff with opening up a zipper. Okay. So then I would be like, okay, well, do I want the pocket to come right up to the top? No, maybe want it starting a little bit further down. And all these thoughts. So, okay, I want it, maybe 5 centimeters down from the top. So 39 minus 5, 34 centimeters. But then you'd need to do a rolled hem on that, as you'll see here when we get sewing. Yeah, I think I'm just going to go a little quicker here and explain this as I'm sewing things together. So a third panel is going to be our end flap pocket. So exact same width as this one because it's going to go right on top of it. So 23. And the height of this is, it's going to be 39 minus however far down from the edge you wanted the pocket to be, plus 3 centimeters for a double hem. Okay. So we estimate about 5 centimeters down, so 34 centimeters, plus 3 for a rolled hem, 37. Okay, right on. Now, let's say we want a zippered pocket to go on the main outside panel here. So when we're holding our shopping bag, we could zip in here and get out a wallet or a cell phone or something. So right away, I can see that my original design here is not going to work because these, where the climbing rope handles come in, is just going to get in the way of a pocket. Okay, so what I came up with here, gang, let's just do a close-up of this side panel. Here's our side panel. So we're going to need our handles coming off there. And what I thought here is we would end the handles there. And then we could have a little pocket. Let's say this is our zipper. Zip, 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 zip. So this would be our pocket all in there. So instead of these handles extending down, we're just going to end the webbing handles there, and then below it have a zippered pocket. Okay, we're getting there. Am I over explaining things, you gang? Am I going too fast? Please let me know. So and so then I would sort of, you know, muse here and just generally see where you want the pocket to be. I don't think I'd want the pocket way up at the top, because then your wallet and cell phone, on the weight of that, would just always be like collapsing the bag on you. So I'd want that a little ways down, and then you have to think about how deep you want the pocket to be. Okay, so you can figure out all that on your own. What I came up with was I want a pocket about 20 centimeters deep, or sorry, 20 centimeters tall. Okay, so it has to be as wide as this one because it's going to be going on top of it. Let's label these. This is the flap pocket. Zip pocket. Okay, so it's going to be on the same 31 centimeters. And we said we want it to be 20. So we have to add a 1.5 for seam allowance there and 1.5 at the bottom. So So 23. And if anyone, please feel free to email me, and I'm happy to give you all these dimensions. And this honestly is literally the first time I'm going to make this, so I honestly don't know if, I mean, it's going to work mathematically, but whether the function of this is going to work, whether we want to move this pocket, whether we want to make it bigger, I might take some testing and tweaking. So I'm happy to send you all this beta, but it might not be perfect. Okay, so I'm going to cut out all my panels here. I need 2 of these. These are the end panels. These ones here. So I need 2 of those guys. I need 1 of the main huge long rectangle that is going to go around in here. And I need 1 of the flap pocket, which is going to go again on the end panel. And I need 1 piece of fabric for my zippered pocket here. Okay. So I've already pre-cut all that stuff out. So let's go sit down at the sewing table and see if we can make a bag out of all this. Okay, and so this is where you really have to think things through. So back to our analogy from when we made our sandwich bag. If we're making a peanut butter and jam sandwich, we have to put it in the toaster first, then we have to butter it, then we have to put on the peanut butter, and it has to be done in that order, right? After we put on the peanut butter, well, it's a bit too late to go back and butter it. So this is where we have to think through all the different stages and steps. And simply put, we just have to do all the sewing to the individual panels. So we're going to put on our side flap panel, we're going to put on our zipper panel, and then sew them all together. So let's go through this as a team. And I'm going to do a very bad job of demonstrating matching thread, because I don't want to be jumping between red thread and then when I sew webbing black thread. This video will be 2 hours long. So I'm just going to stick with black thread, but you'd absolutely want to match your thread color up. Okay, so here we have the our 2 end panels, 1 and 2. And here is what's going to be our flap end pocket. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is a double hem. adjust my attention a bit there. And now what I'm doing is I'm sewing this flap pocket onto our end panel here. And I'll give you guys an overview shot in one sec here. Okay, so we wanted a flap pocket on the side of this bag, and that is exactly what this is going to be. A double hem up top, so there's no raw edges. Okay, so that the sewing is done to that panel. Done. Okay. So the other end of the bag, seam along the bottom. We're not going to have anything there. No pocket, no handles attaching, so that's just the plain cutout fabric. Okay. As I say, gang, please chime in there on the chat if anything needs more explaining or anything like that. Okay, this is the pocket that is going to go below the handles on the side of the bag. And as we chatted about last time, because we figured out our seam allowances on our zipper, the width of the zipper, what that adds, we figured out what seam allowance to take off so that the seam allowance we take off, and we end up with a net 0. So I can just cut wherever I want the zipper, and we're all good. I'm not doing any of those fancy aligning chalk marks like we talked about, because this is a fairly short and just nice and straight perpendicular piece of fabric, so I'm not too stressed about that. Okay, I'll just blast this off here, you guys. Okay, 3/4 inch binding tape on my zipper. Top stitch. Onto this guy. And there are a cajillion ways we could have made a zipper pocket on here, and we'll go through and chat about some of the options in a sec here. Okay, and once you're done sewing that, I try and immediately put the slider on. I've absolutely lost track of the number of items I've made where you sew the whole product and you're like, yeah, I'm done, awesome, and then crap, I forgot to put the slider on, and then you have to rip everything apart. So I try and tell myself to put the slider on just right away, and then you're all good. Okay, so let's get a little bit of a reminder overview of what's going on here, gang. So we had two of our end panels, and we had our piece of fabric for our flap pocket. Okay, so here's one end panel that has the flap pocket on it, double hem on that, and here's our other end panel. Okay, great, wonderful. Now we have our big long rectangle that's going to be the main portion of the bag, and we have our zipper pocket that's going to go just below our handles. So there's our big long rectangle, and here's the zippered pocket. Now there are a large number of ways. I've mushed this thing flat here. Large number of ways we could have made a zipper pocket on here. So one way is we could have just cut a line in the main fabric of the bag, put a zipper in, and then from the inside, on the back of that panel, we could have had a liner fabric, and that would have formed a pocket. Let me show you one example here, gang. So here's the same panel I showed you guys yesterday. This is the side panel of a backpack, and this is the pocket to hold your probe goes in there. So I've cut a line on the main external fabric, and then I've just sewn a liner fabric on the back, and then that creates a pocket, and then that panel will go into the backpack. The reason why we've chosen to sew maintain the full length of the fabric here uncut, and then we're adding a zipper thing on top of. The reason for that is if we cut a line here, sewed a zipper in, the weight of the bag is hanging from the handles here when we carry it, and that force is getting transferred down to the bottom where gravity is resting. That's where our jugs of milk are resting, and so that zipper would be carrying that load. Sure, there's a liner fabric behind it, but those liner fabrics are pretty stretchy. And so the reason I want a pocket on top of is then we get the strength of having a continuous main, nice outer strong fabric to hold the load. So that's what's going on there. Alrighty. Okay, so next up here, gang, is we have to figure out how to hide this upper raw edge. We have to figure out how to hide this lower raw edge of the fabric, and also our handles here, we have to figure out how to hide those raw edges as well. So there's a number of ways of doing that. We could do a complete seam here. That would take recalculating things. We'd have to cut out a panel this way. We'd have to cut out another panel that way. And then our raw edge here would go into that seam. The handles could go into that seam. That's one way of doing it. I'm going to keep things a little bit simpler. And how I've chosen to do it for our video here is we're going to run a strip of horizontal webbing across the whole bag. Yes, I'm using this horrendous purple. I had it from another project and I want to use it up. And then the pocket is going to hide underneath that webbing from the bottom, and our webbing handles are going to hide under in there, coming down from the top. Alrighty? So that's what we're doing. Okay, so what I'm doing now is I'm going to sew our pocket onto the outside panel, and I've marked here where our horizontal webbing is going to go to hide pocket seam and hide a handle seam. So what I'm doing is lining that top raw edge up there, and then down at the bottom, what I'm going to do is put a mark here, one seam allowance up from where this bottom raw edge comes to lay. And I'll show you what happens there. And we're going to mark the same distance on the other side, so that's 29.5 centimeters down. Okay, 29.5 centimeters down on the other side. And where we're going to have our horizontal webbing to hide everything is 10 centimeters down, for those who are taking notes. And so there's many ways of doing this, gang. I could simply run this through and do a single hem. And then after I've single hemmed, I could just simply sew this down onto the fabric. What's a little bit cleaner is I'm going to do a good side to good side seam here, and I'm starting my needle hole at our chalk lines we've made there. Okay, forward and back. Okay. Now we have a couple of options here, gang. I can flip this over and top stitch it, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to double stitch it again. The reason I've done that is two reasons. Now, just aesthetically, I think that looks a little cleaner. You know, there's no stitches visible. And also, I just love making things as strong and as durable as I can. And having done repair work for 15 years, I can tell you that this Cordura fabric is really durable, but having stitches visible from the outside, those are rub it against stuff. They will wear out. And so now all the stitches and threads are hidden and protected behind this shield. Okay. And now you can see up top here, it's lined up with our chalk line we made that was 10 centimeters down. And so I'm just going to do a little stitch across here. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is sew on the horizontal webbing that's going to hide this raw edge. But before I do that, we need to mark where we want our handles to go. And we have to decide how far apart we want our handles. If we put them really wide, then as we carry the bag, it's probably going to scrunch everything in as we carry it. If they're too narrow, well, then in the loop we don't have enough room for our hand. So what I like to do is first mark the middle over there and decide how far apart we want our handles. And honestly, I'm on site in here. Let's go 12 centimeters apart. So I've marked 6 out from the middle and 6 back from the middle. That's where we want our handles. And this line was again 10 centimeters down from the top. And I'm going to mark out the same on the other side here. 10 centimeters down from the top. And the middle of the bag. And 12 centimeters apart. Okay. Everyone's good there, team? And so again, what I'm using for my handle here is 55 centimeters. I've chosen 3/4 inch webbing. You can use whatever you want. If you don't have webbing, you could cut out a strip of fabric and fold it over and sew it and kind of make your own webbing. And I would absolutely be making notes on this on my template. 55 centimeters of webbing, and where did you sew it, and all these things. And then when you're doing your testing, if like, oh, these handles are a bit long and they're a bit short, or oh, I want them wider, I want them closer, you've got a record of what you did. Okay, so let's just sew across our webbing here first. And so you can see it's hiding the raw edge of the pocket. And here we go. And just like our zipper, I like to work sort of off the roll for all this stuff. And then again, if it's pulling unevenly or whatever, you don't have to stress about that. If you pre-cut, you just sew to the end and cut it, and you know it's like exactly as long as it needs to be. Okay, and now we've got still our marks under here for where our handles want to go. And as I'm sewing here, I'm going to put my handles in place, some forward and back. It's time for a new needle. My top thread got cut there, gang, and that is a really good sign that you have a burr or some sort of edge on your needle. I'm going to try and get away with keeping this needle in just so I don't waste too much of your time. But if you're cutting a top thread, or your top thread is breaking, a good culprit is just putting a new needle in there. Okay, so one more overview here, gang. So we've got the our handles in place. We have our horizontal webbing hiding our raw edges. We have our zipper. We have the bottom of our pocket, which we double stitch from the inside, nice and clean here from the outside. And so what we have to do now is sew our handles on the other end. And this is starting to take shape here. And we want to put in our label. And are we going to leave that single stitched? Hell no. Almost forgot to double stitch this side. Okay, so now is kind of the critical juncture where, as I said, when we're making a multi-panel bag or multi-panel thing, I want to make sure, have I done all the sewing to each panel? Because we're about to now sew the panels together. And so once we've sewn the panels together, it's too late. I can't do any other sewing here. It's too late. I can't do any other sewing there. So let's check back with our template here. Okay, two end panels. One was plain. One had a flat pocket on it. Okay, two end panels. One's plain. One has a flat pocket on it. Okay, good. Main panel with handles top, handles bottom, and a zipper pocket. Yeah, looking good to me. Let's sew the thing together. Okay, now what's going to happen here, gang, when we sew this together is that's going to get sewn there, and then it's going to go like that, and then we're going to rotate things back like that. So one little thing I'll do, it's nice to have little check-in points to make sure that you're on track, so to speak. And this will make sense as I'm sewing things together. So this is our end panel, and I'm going to just mark the middle of this. And here's our main big long panel. I'm going to also mark the midpoint of that. And as I'm sewing, those two midpoints should meet up. And so I'll have a little check-in point halfway along to be like, oh crap, it's not working out. Or, ooh, I'm just a little bit off. Maybe I need to tease and pull a little bit harder on the top fabric to get back on track, or vice versa. I'll show you in a sec here. Okay, so good side to good side. We're just doing a nice classic good side to good side seam. Here we go. As I'm sewing, I'm going to do some reinforcing on the webbing. I'm going to do some reinforcing as I pass over the zipper. If you haven't noticed, I really like reinforcing. And I'm going to stop here, a seam allowance back from this raw edge. And so when we were originally doing our calculations here, gang, and our end panel was 39 and 23 and 39. And if you add those up, it comes to 101 centimeters. So why the heck did we cut out a 98 centimeter long rectangle? And this is why, because I'm stopping a seam allowance short here, that comes off of this length. Hopefully that makes sense. So now I'm just going to rotate and pull this fabric around and head off in our new direction. And can you guys see here, those midpoints are pretty close. This top fabric is a little bit ahead of schedule, and the bottom one is a little behind. So I may just pull a little bit on the bottom to try and catch up a little bit, but we're pretty close. We're within a half centimeter here, so that's fine. Same thing, just rotating the top fabric. And when you're doing this, gang, when you're sewing these together, I really hope this is making sense. This top panel is kind of the one that's defining the shape, and you want that panel to be on top. It's just a lot easier to sew it that way. Forward and back in the corner. As I'm coming back up the stretch, I'll put them all together and just see if I'm going to end up a flush here. And you can sort of cheat one along if you have to. Okay, there we go. And you can see here I'm a little bit off, and that's fine. You know, we can just trim that. If you were always making the bag out of the same fabric, you would absolutely adjust that template a little bit, and so the end panel would have to get a little bit shorter. And that just shows you the difference between fabrics. That template, I made that template 5 times, and in the a typical fabric I work with, it works out perfectly. And this stuff obviously is feeding a little differently than this stuff. And that's just how it is. Okay, now we're going to go to so in the other panel, exactly the same way. Do some forward and back where on the rolled seam of our flat pocket is entering there on the forward and back. Okay. So now we have a bag that is inside out. And do bear with me, gang. I'm going to blast through and binding tape this because I do want this to be a usable bag. I don't want to add to your video length here as much as I have to, but I don't want to sew this together, not binding taped, and then have a wasted or substandard bag. So bear with me a sec here. I've noticed from watching all these videos that my treadle really squeaks like a bird. And now that I've heard it in the videos, I can't unhear it now that when I'm sewing. I think I'm going to get a can of oil and try and fix that. Let me get in there. Hang in there, gang. We got less than 10 minutes left here. You're doing awesome. Okay, binding tape this side. A good YouTuber would insert wiki comments here. I'm not, so I won't. And I'm out of bobbin thread. That's okay. We got some other at the ready here. Okay, so now we have our inside out bag. Beauty. So here we have our end flap pocket. We've got our grab handles here. Grab handle here. We have a nice clean webbing hiding the handles, adding some reinforcement. Our zipper we can now open up. Boom. Right. Yeah, maybe it would be better to top stitch that pocket so it hides the raw edges. Up to you. Do you want it clean from the outside or clean from the inside? Up to you. Anyway, something to make note of for your next version. So now all we have to do is finish off the top edge here in some way. So we have a few options here, gang. You know, one option is to do a rolled seam here if we wanted. That's totally cool. You know, another option is, and you would have needed to calculate that in your original measurements. So if you're doing a rolled seam, you would have had to add on 3 centimeters to the whatever finished height you wanted. You know, you could binding tape this. You know, you could even get like structural 1.5 inch or 2 inch webbing and fold that in half if you wanted a really stiff opening in the bag to stay open. So me being always wanting to make things as absolutely strong as I can, I kind of want to add on some more sewing onto these handles. And a pro tip, how you make a strong attachment point is not like a peppering and bar tacking everything to one small area. Increase the surface area of attachment. That's how you make something strong. And so what I want to do is I'm going to do a good side to good side hem here. And then we're going to trim this in webbing. And that webbing is again going to go over top of this handle. And we're going to make nice bomber handles. You can carry 20 liters of milk in here and not have a care in the world. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so I'm turning the bag back inside out. Move you guys over here so you can see a bit better. Okay, so right now I'm just doing a good side to good side hem on the top edge of the bag. Apologize for the horrendous camera work today, gang. Okay, so what I did there was hem the a top edge, good sides to good sides, and now we're going to hide that with some webbing. And the reason we're using the webbing, as we said before, is just It's going to add some stiffness, and it's going to keep this bag nice and open. It's not going to just flop down on itself, and also adding a lot of strength to the handles. And yes, many people will laugh at me and say, dude, it's just a shopping bag, but I just really like to make things strong. Okay, and now I've come to the handle here. So I'm just going to have the main grab handles here run underneath. I actually probably should have sewn these down. I'm not going to do that just for the speed of the video. You know, maybe you could leave them like that. Heck, maybe you could even feed in a loop there if you wanted to, like clip your water bottle on there. Anyways, up to you. And once again, I'm demonstrating quite bad leadership here, gang. I'm using a lighter because I'm being lazy and want to make the video fast, but I would absolutely be going outside and hot knifing this outside so I'm not huffing fumes. And folding that guy over so again we don't have any raw edges. And now we just have to blast it along, sewing down the other edge. Making sure, gang, when you fold it over your single hem on the top edge, make sure that it's short enough that whatever material you're putting on top here, you can comfortably sew flat, and this stuff is not going to be sticking out. Done. Done, done, done. That was a long video, you guys. I'm glad you hung in there. And now you get the awesome part of turning the thing inside out and seeing what you made. So we got handles, reinforced, reinforced, reinforced. Oh, yes. See that webbing on the top here is nice and stiff, and the bag stays open quite nicely. We have our, right over here, our flap pocket on the side where we can shove in a water bottle or something. Yeah, we have our zipper here. And like I said, you know, nothing ever. Well, actually, no, I had one template once in 18 years where it was absolutely perfect on the first time I did it, but it just never is. And so use the thing, test it, you know, go to the store, see what's good, tweak it, and make it better next time. You guys are absolute champs. I hope you had as much fun as I had doing these, you guys. As I say, please, it's an open door. If you have questions, please email me, Instagram, whatever. If anyone wants materials, I'm happy to send those on to you guys, as I said, at my wholesale cost. And yeah, if you want advice on what sewing machine to buy, like feel free to email me links or whatever. Yeah, I had an absolute blast. Thanks, guys. Good luck, and I'll see you out in the digital world somewhere. Ciao. Bye. Have fun.